Gothic Elements in the Novels of Joyce Carol Oates, a summary of an MA written by Sameh Galil. Horace Walpole's publication of The Castle of Otranto, back in 1764, marked the rise of a new novel genre which was to dominate English letters for centuries, namely the Gothic novel. Many of the Gothic elements now established and considered classic are credited to Walpole's novel. The Gothic novel addressed the trinity of time, place, and character in a hitherto quite unprecedented manner. It delved deep into history known and unknown. It depicted horrific atmospheres with crumbling castles and mansions, and finally, far from being different to those environs, the characters portrayed were generally victimized women locked in attics. The Gothic novels, one is tempted to believe, are fairy tales yet devoid of the latter's luminous green world. Despite the ongoing criticism leveled against the Gothic novel for what its detractors have always deemed its sensationalism, melodramatic overtones, as well as play on the supernatural, it survived critics' scathing criticism. In fact, no better evidence of its tenacious vigor can be cited than the impulse which now and then drives writers of totally opposite leanings to try their hands at it. One only needs to remember that a constellation of literary luminaries as prestigious as Dickens, Poe, the Brontes, Virginia Woolf, Faulkner, Gabriel Garcia Marquez, Stephen King, and Isabel Allende owe a substantial lot of their artistic strength and subsequent popularity to the Gothic. It has been the contention of this study that Joyce Carol Oates draws heavily on the traditions of the Gothic. She has affinities with the Gothic and consciously employs many of its elements and motifs. However, she manipulates them to meet a revisionist agenda she has in mind. She aptly applies it to modern, or for that matter, postmodern America, where the terrors of the night are replaced by the terrors of light. According to Mary Catherine Grant, Oates's body of fiction tells the tragic tale of decades wasted by war, assassinations, riots, and a people paralyzed by their fear of being powerless to change things. But her works do more than chronicle the horrors. They are efforts to raise the consciousness of ordinary people to the realization of the destruction of their lives. For Oates, in the modern world where the beastly, the emetic, and the atrocious are routine, no novelistic medium can capture this spirit and render these sad truths more vividly than the Gothic. It is Oates's belief that the Gothic is the only type of fiction that is capable of laying bare the dynamics involved in the dehumanization of large segments of society, especially women and the poor. Like her female predecessors, the Brontes and Mary Shelley, to name but a few, Oates adopts the Gothic genre to point to the brutality of patriarchal systems which have always exercised discrimination between the two sexes in favor of men. For all what critics say about Oates, she probably remains one of the true advocates of women in modern American literature. It has to be made clear, though, that the thesis is not a feminist polemic for or against Oates's canon as a novelist. The thesis is primarily meant to show how Oates fits within the parameters of the Gothic. Of all Oates' work, her postmodernist novels, Belle Fleur, 1980, Bloodsmore Romance, 1982, and Mysteries of Winterthurn, 1984, are the most massively indebted to the tradition of the Gothic novel. Except for Belle Fleur, even the titles of these novels are revelatory of the hold the Gothic has on Oates. Much of Oates's work was written during very traumatic times in this world, and her three novels are apt illustrations of that. Through her acknowledgement of the tragedy that is occurring, Oates nurses hopes that through her work she can bring these blatant catastrophes home, forcing the Americans to deal with them rather than shy away from facing up to them. With this in mind, the thesis proceeds in its analysis of the three novels chronologically. Belle Fleur, being the oldest of the three, is studied first, then comes A Bloodsmore Romance, the second in the year of publication, and finally there comes Mysteries of Winterthurn, the most recent of the three. Of all the Gothic elements permeating the three novels, three stand out as the most substantive and revealing. The curse, for one, occupies center stage in Belle Fleur, while in A Bloodsmore Romance, romance is dominant. In Mysteries of Winterthurn, mystery reigns supreme. Oates's insistence on foregrounding one Gothic element in each of the three novels is speculated to have been the corollary of an influence the Russian-born American formalist Roman Jakobson had on Oates. It seems that Oates had in mind Jakobson's concept of the dominant in the work of art while writing these novels. This concept provides a very valid frame of reference and helps explain why a particular Gothic aspect or element is made to foreshadow all the other elements. According to Jacobson, the dominant may be defined as the focusing component of a work of art. It rules, determines, and transforms the remaining components. It is the dominant which guarantees the integrity of the structure. The argument of the thesis is in 4 chapters. Chapter 1 chronicles the development of the Gothic novel ever since it made its first appearance on the literary scene with the publication of Walpole's The Castle of Otranto. It is a survey of the Gothic throughout history, making mention, in the process, of Gothic writers as well as the themes and issues this genre has been addressing itself to. This chapter serves as a background and a frame of reference against which the study sets and evaluates Oates's Gothic contribution in the 3 novels. Chapter 2 addresses the Gothic motif of the curse in Bellefleur. Through a dizzying profusion of plots, readers are given glimpses of the White Bellefleur family in 7 generations. Because the Bellefleur family history has been one of savagery and carnage, and because the sins of the fathers are visited on their offspring, a biblical principle and a Gothic stipulate, members of the new generation of Bellefleur feel that some sense of doom or curse is hunting and haunting them and is responsible for the miseries and misfortunes that befall them from time to time. Only those who realize and own up to the enormity of the crimes perpetrated by their forefathers and fathers against other races and the poor will be delivered, leaving the arrogant who believe in the supremacy of the white race to meet their tragic end in Gideon's kamikaze bomb dive into the Bellefleur Manor. Chapter 3 discusses the element of romance in a Bloodsmore romance, typical of a Gothic romance. Readers meet the orphaned heroine who suffers at the hands of her sisters in her adopted family. Very early in the novel, Deirdre gets abducted and leaves her family for 20 years. When she comes back, after having to fend for herself until she has established herself in the world of sorcery and channeling voices, she blesses the lives of her other 4 sisters and, selflessly, allows them to share with her the money she inherits from her mother. The mother, in a dramatic turn of events, typically Gothic, is discovered to have been a blood relation to Deirdre's adopted family. Chapter 4 handles mystery and detection in Mysteries of Winterthurn. The atmosphere of the novel is that of Twilight, where mystery and enigma seem to be the order of the day. 3 murders are committed, and Xavier, the traditional detective, starts the journey of identifying the perpetrators. While Xavier is shown throughout trying to resolve the mysteries and identify the killers, Oates is engaging the readers throughout the incidents and events in probing the reasons for the violence which claimed the lives of an innocent child in the first murder case, 4 factory girls in the second case, and a clergyman in the third. The typically Gothic question, who is the culprit, turns into the more difficult question, why? And in answering the question why, the entire society is identified as the real culprit through its biased beliefs which see women, children, and the poor as creatures of no human or social consequence. The thesis ends with a short essay wherein the main arguments and findings are recapitulated. This essay serves as a retrospective reflection on Oates's Gothic project in the novels, as proved or refuted in the thesis. It is intended to offer an evaluation of Oates's contribution to the Gothic in the 3 novels. It also seeks to underscore the areas where Oates deviates from the long-established Gothic model and uncover the reasons for such generic infidelities.